At 5 tonight, a lawsuit over the treatment of a child at an embattled camp for troubled teens in North Carolina will continue. A judge denied a motion filed by Trails Carolina and a counselor who worked there. Now, earlier this year, officials with a wilderness camp located in Transylvania County called on a judge to dismiss the lawsuit and strike parts of the complaint from the record. They wanted the parts focusing on the recent deaths at the camp out of the complaint, arguing that it was not relevant to the 2016 sexual assault of the plaintiff. But the judge disagreed. Let's go ahead and bring in Chief Legal Analyst now Rhodes to this conversation. And Khalif, what reasoning did the judge give to this decision here to dismiss this motion for Trails Carolina?
A couple things. So normally you'd have a 12B motion, 12B6 motion, failure to state a claim. Obviously the judge believed that they were able to state some type of claim, and so that will allow a case to be dismissed before it ever gets to a jury. I filed my complaint. When you respond as a defendant, you're saying, look, they didn't even make any allegations. They're not even saying that we've done anything illegal. Your Honor, look at this, dismiss it. Most cases are dismissed on a 12B6 motion because they failed to state a claim. After that, additionally, what they were asking for is a motion to strike. They were saying that there's things in this complaint that are not relevant, specifically the death is not relevant to the sexual assaults. The judge disagreed. He believed that this is clearly relevant to some pattern or something as opposed to just dismissing it. And it's something that he believed that the jury should have an opportunity to hear. And so failure on both points for defense. But that doesn't end the claim. It just allows the claim to continue.
And it also kind of leads the jury into thinking one way already. Is that the kind of the way you're thinking here?
Well, at the end of the day, all this stuff happens out of the view of the jury. This happens way before we even start to pick a jury. This is when we're at a process of, Your Honor, I just received my complaint. I want to know how I should respond. I either have an opportunity to answer in a certain amount of days or I can file a countersuit. Most of the time you'll just answer, and in your answer you'll be making responses to the complaint, and you'll say a number of things. Specifically, I don't even know what this complaint is talking about. They failed to make an allegation that's based in law. They said I painted on the wall. Well, there's nothing illegal about painting on the wall. Dismiss this case. Let's not waste the court's time. Let's not even get a jury in here, have them drive down here and waste their time for this case. So like I said, most of them are dismissed because folks fail to state claims, because it's not as easy as it looks on TV.
Yeah, as a lawyer yourself, you always say about 90% of the cases get dismissed, but I do want to talk about the camp's history here. It was ordered to close in February after a child died there earlier this year, and it was the second child to die there in custody at Trails Carolina.
The timing of it for me as a parent was I was watching this eyes wide open, because I was sending my son to a camp, my daughter to a camp, away from home, not just a day camp. So I'm like, wow, maybe we shouldn't be sending them. It had, the impression of there was a total loss of control during this moment here. And obviously, I think there will be more complaints. Once you find out that there are things happening, specifically talking about the sexual assaults, you'll see more victims coming out of the woodwork and saying, hey, I remember something like that happened to me. And that's normally what happens. I've done a lot of communication with victims. I've talked to victim advocates, and oftentimes they talk about how a victim suppresses the things that they're going through. And then when they hear another person bring it up, they're like, wow, that happened to me. Look at the gymnastics situations that happened years ago at Michigan State. All these athletes came through there, and it wasn't until one said it that, you know what, I was a part of that. So I look forward to seeing multiple complaints.
And we'll have to see going forward within the next few months about what does happen for Trails of Carolina in this case. All right. Chief Legal Analyst Rhodes, thanks.